Voilà, we zijn weer een keer op tijd. 2 minuten te vroeg zelfs, ideaal. Welkom allemaal bij de zoveelste aflevering van Saint Magon Air. Vandaag hadden we normaal Maarten gehad. Maarten heeft helaas moeten afzeggen voor vandaag, maar hij komt wel nog in de beurt binnenkort. Ik ga alvast de agenda even laten zien, dan hebben jullie die al gehad. Dus volgende week komt Louise van J.J. Corey, de week erop Dingle Distillery. En dan komt Maarten de 31ste met Highland Park en Mike Fisher volgt daarna, Alex met Calvados en Cara van Springbank. Er zullen heel wat leuke gasten zijn de komende weken en we zijn ook al aan het inplannen voor oktober, dus dat belooft al. Voor vandaag hebben we de invaller, maar wel een invaller om u tegen te zeggen. En ik ben heel blij dat hij zo snel reageerde, dat hij zei van ik doe met heel veel plezier mee. Please welcome Mark Watt. Hi Mark.
Hi there, how are we doing?
Oh, you're drinking Belgian beer.
Absolutely, it's got to be done. Just a little one. The way it goes about.
How many are left there?
There's a few. There's enough to see me through until my next delivery. So it's.
Oh, you scheduled the delivery yet?
Absolutely.
How is the weather like in Scotland?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. It's quite hot and muggy tonight. So hopefully it will. Well, I think we're going to get a splash of rain and that'll clear the air a little bit. Also, need to apologise. Kate, my wife, is not here, obviously. I've not done anything wrong. But just because we have a 12, 13-week-old daughter and a 5-year-old, it was much easier for me to escape to the office.
Congratulations.
Than have screaming children in the background. So it's... that's why it's just me, I'm afraid. So those of you who've tuned in to see Kate, you can leave now.
A lot of guys are saying hello to you, and a lot of women as well. Sorry. I don't want to start a new war or something like this. But
no,
Mark,
plenty going on.
For those who don't know Mark Watt, tell us something more about Mark Watt. Who is he? What's he doing in the whiskey industry, and what have he has? Why should people know Mark Watt?
It's probably best if you don't, to be honest.
See you in an hour. I'm gone.
It's no, like I've been working with whiskey now for technically 22 years, since 1998 when I started behind the bar at the Geweldige Hotel. Most people will know me from either my Duncan Taylor days. Was there for 7 years, 8 years. And then latterly was obviously heading up Cadenheads for the last 7 years, and that was a lot of fun. And so now me and Kate are starting out on our own journey and starting our own company. Great time to do it. The start of a global pandemic, just before Brexit, with a new baby. Perfect timing. I'm sure when you read in all the business books, that's
you have a lot of time on your hands.
Yeah. So
what to do in normal circumstances. Let's do a lockdown.
Yeah, absolutely. It's although thankfully lockdown hasn't affected us too much business wise, because obviously we're a new company, so we had no customers, so we haven't lost any, because we didn't have any. But it's not slowed things down too much. We're probably on schedule for where we had hoped to be.
Okay, so talking about your new firm, it's Watt Whisky. It's called. This is the logo and the name, of course. The name is pretty obvious. Can you tell us something more about the logo?
So the logo is it's a close-up stylization of a taste bud, which kind of means a lot to us because we're all about the taste, and we've always been about that when it comes to whiskey and good booze. So that's what we wanted to represent in our logo. We wanted to be, we wanted to be different. We have got friends that have got a design company in London, and they came up with a concept for us. So that was really good because we had images of Campbeltown and all sorts of things we had in our head, and they came up with this idea, and it kind of sums us up more so. Obviously, the company name is the Campbeltown Whisky Company Limited, which was too good a name not to have. But if we bottle a whiskey that's not from Campbeltown, we cannot mention Campbelltown on the label at all.
Okay, yeah.
So that's why it evolved into being what whiskey. I mean, initially I didn't want to use my own name. It's a bit big-headed, and obviously I'm quite known for my modesty. But they talked us into, they showed us the design, and it all ties in because, you know, for us, it's all about what's in the bottle. It's all about the taste. And we didn't want to, you know, have another Glencairn glass or a pagoda or, you know, a still when we don't have a distillery or anything like that. You know, we're not trying to pretend that we've got more than what we do.
Yeah.
The other thing that ties in with the logos is you'll see all the different colours that are there. That ties back to the fact that I actually smell in colours. So quite often when I'm smelling a whiskey, I'll go, my initial reaction is, what colour is it? So the different taste bud colours will represent the colours that I smell when I'm selecting a cask. So the taste bud colour and the bottom label will change with each bottling based on the colour that I smell when we're doing it. So it keeps things, it's a bit of fun. We'll see how it evolves. There's no science behind it for me. There is a scientific thing. It's called synesthesia, which means your brain's wired up slightly wrong, which kind of sums me up a lot. And so you do smell and colour. It's like some people have really severe forms of it where they'll like, I don't know, they'll hear something and they'll smell in different colours. They'll, you know, it's all quite interesting. It was Dave Broom that actually introduced me to the concept. I was in a bar with him in Japan one night going, oh, I quite often smell in colours. And he told me all about this book, The Frog That Croaked Blue. So that was quite good. So we're working through that. And it means we can also have, like from a design point of view, we can have different colours on shelf, but not just all the same. Because if you go down, well, to be honest, regionality in whiskey is a bit past it these days anyway. But if you go down the route of a different colour for each region, then your shelf just is covered in the colour that you've picked for Speyside, because I'm from Speyside, it's where most distilleries are from. So it just allows a little bit more colour and a little bit of fun. And what's going to be interesting is I've always had this, but never really documented it. So it's going to be interesting to see if there's a correlation between, you know, all the ones that I smell that are orange or all the ones that I smell that are purple. You know, do they...
Will people get the same feeling about it?
Yeah. And will they be clustered together? So it's quite fun. It's a bit different.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at. We're main focus is whiskey, but we've got wort rum as well. So we're going to start with some rum, and if all goes well, you never know whatever, as long as it's good and we can afford it. It's
that's the big thing for everybody.
So it's, and obviously going with the principles that I've always had throughout my career: non-chill filtered, natural colour, predominantly cask strength. You know, so, and most of it will be single cask, although sometimes it might be a couple of casks fatted together or whatever. But you know, we're starting small, and we're not planning to take over the world. You know, we just want to bottle enough good whiskey, enough good stuff to, you know, pay the mortgage, and buy some Belgian beer. You know, it's so you're going to have to buy lots of casks to pay for my beer addiction. But no, so it's quite fun. The theory being we'll hopefully come out with, well, we've got our first release picked, which is 5 casks. I'm not going to tell you what they are, because one of the things with the crowdfunder, which was a huge success for us, was anyone who bought into the crowdfunder will get first heads up on what's coming out.
I was too late. Just a few minutes.
I mean, it totally blew us away. I think it was 250 bottles or something in 3 days, which was just unbelievable.
There's another mark.
I know, all the good marks. apart from me. But the crowdfunder really did help a lot, because we had planned for the whole summer to be doing tastings in Campbeltown and getting a bit of money in that way, but obviously with lockdown and nobody being able to come here, that got knocked on the head a wee bit. But the crowdfunder doing much better than we had anticipated or could even have hoped for, really. Yeah. It's allowed us a wee bit more cash flow to do a bit more things, and it's allowing us to start with 5 casks for our first release rather than maybe starting with 1 or 2. So it means that we can start a bit bigger than we maybe would have done had we not done
in normal circumstances. Yeah, but Mark, it's a strange thing to say, but I have to say, you have a very big fan base in Belgium and the Netherlands as well, and actually all over the world, because I found this photo of you. Not of you, but from all the whiskey buds of What Whiskey Buds.
There's some well-known faces in there, that's for sure.
Yeah. So is this something you did with the crowdfunding as well, or is this?
Yeah, the crowdfunder, everyone that did the crowdfunder got a t-shirt, and so we sent out the t-shirt to them first, and so they've just been arriving, and then we got a lot of good feedback on the t-shirts, so we actually sold some more recently.
Yeah, you sold this one as well.
Yes, so that's
sold out for the moment.
Yeah, but what we'll probably will do, we still need to build our website, whatwhisky.com, and we're hoping to get a little bit of merchandise on that, or probably try and do it through a white site, so we don't have to necessarily purchase merchandise in advance, but people can do it, because obviously a new business here, it's all about cash flow, and I'd rather have our money tied up in whiskey than tied up in t-shirts.
Yeah. I can understand that. We have a first question. Who stood model for the taste bud?
Who stood model? The first one? I don't know. We haven't had. It's all just been photoshopped, I'm sure.
And there's another question. How about whiskey on a Geus barrel? Aaron has done it with Geuse Creek.
Yes, I know. I have some up there. So if Stephen can get us some more, that would be good. But no, it works really well. I drank one of them and I've got one left because it was a wee half and half bottles. So anything that combines my two favorite things is always good. Yeah.
But the plans are you will be buying a lot of barrels, of course. But
I mean, it's going to be small, and we I kind of joke and say that I no longer have Mr. Wright's money that I had when I was at Cadenheads, but I've now got Mrs. Wright's money, which is my mother-in-law has managed to give us a loan of some money so that we can get casks going. So it's still the Wrights that are paying for things. So it's although it's not saying anything bad against Mr. Wright, but I'm probably more scared of my mother-in-law than I am of.
I can imagine that.
But no, so it's all going well. I mean, at the minute, I think we've got 13 casks that we own. We can't really get much more than that at this minute in time. So we are being honest, we're having to buy things that we want to bottle fairly soon. We don't have the facility yet to buy whiskey.
Just a nice one. What whiskey, what rum, and whatever.
That sounds like
you have to keep that
one. But yeah, so it's we'll I say we want to do just like 5 casks at a time, maybe 3 times a year, maybe maximum 4 times a year if it works out, whilst also maybe doing some single casks for individual markets or any shops or whatever. Well, to be honest, we'll sell to anybody that wants it. We can't be too precious at the minute. But it's so we don't need too much, but we want to make sure we're always 2-3 releases ahead schedule so that we don't, run out of stock. But as things progress, we'll be able to maybe lay things down a little bit more. So therefore we can buy things a little bit cheaper if we're buying it younger, and then try and keep our prices as low as we can.
Most people know you from the Cadenhead story. Your time there.
It was a real thing. It wasn't a story.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a bedtime story. No, but they know you from there, and they know what you did for them, all those caskets. But don't you think people will be disappointed, not because these bottles will be not as good as but they will be different because you don't have the barrels with you, but you had over there.
I mean, that's one thing that I do worry about is that, people like me when I'm pouring them a Banff or a 30-year-old Kalila or whatever. But at the same time, at Cadenhead's and at Duncan Taylor, we bottled goods, Milton Duffs, Dalyewans, Balmenics, so from the less sexy distilleries. Anyone who's expecting Watt whiskey to come out with 1972 Caperdonics or 40-year-old Little Mills or things like that are going to be seriously disappointed. One thing we will be able to say though is the quality. That's the alarm to tell me that my boy has to go to bed. The quality of the whiskey that we're bottling or rum that we're bottling is good. It's and it's not. Yes, I was just going to say it's not. It's only as good as we can afford.
Value for the money.
Yeah, because what I mean by that is I've been offered. There's people say there's not. Or it has been said that there's not many casks available. That's nonsense. In the last 3 months, I've been offered over 1,000 casks of whiskey. And obviously I can't afford 1,000 casks of whiskey. But the prices have gone from 800 quid for a cask to I got offered one at 1.2 million pound. So there's a huge variation. And there have been some really good old names kicking about, and the price I could get them for, it would probably mean we'd have to retail them about £400 a bottle, £400 or £500 a bottle, and that's not where we're at.
We're beginning company.
I think it wouldn't look great if we kick off straight away with here's a £750 bottle of whiskey. I know it's great, but none of you can afford. Well, many of you can afford it, but I can't afford to drink it at that. So at the end of the day, we will be different. We've got to work with what we can get our hands on, and so it's not as easy as like when I worked at Cadenhead's when you had warehouses full of whiskey that you could just go and pick whenever you wanted. But it means, we're not bottling on the same scale. We'll maybe bottle 20. If we're doing really well, we'll bottle 20 casks a year. When I was at Cadenhead's, at some points we were doing that in one release. So it's a different scale, different model. At the end of the day, it will be good. The stuff we put in it, we've literally put our name on the bottle.
Yeah,
so
I think it agrees with you. Good whiskey doesn't have to be old.
No,
yeah,
and it doesn't. It's just got to be good. And we're not going to bottle things for the sake of bottling it.
No.
But the other good thing is, because we're a new company, everything we bottle will be new for us. So the first time we bottle a Bruichladdich, that's probably not going to happen. The first time we bottle a Bruichladdich, it'll be the first time we bottle a Bruichladdich. The first time we bottle a Dalyewan, it'll be the first time we've bottled a Dalyewan. So like every time it will be something unique for us. So it's quite an exciting journey, and it's the whole business is actually it's been really good. Kate, my wife, has been brilliant. She's much cleverer than I am, but she's much more.
With your son?
Yeah, my son Zach in the warehouse. Just after that point, I told him to go and pick a cask to try, and he picked a 1987 Highland Park. He was.
Is this one?
Yeah. So he's in good form. But yeah, where was I going with that? Yes, so Kate's whisky background as well. She started at Springbank. She was there for 7-8 years. And then she was up at Glenfarclas for 7 years. So she moved to Speyside to be nearer me, and then I get a job in Campbeltown.
Okay.
But like, it's new for her. She's been more on the sales side of things. So I have for years now, I've been buying and selling casks of whiskey. So it's only now beginning to become real when you start seeing the logo. And once we get our first bottle in our hands, that's when I think, it's going to be really exciting for me. When I walk into the Ardshiel along the road, and they've got our whiskey behind the bar, or hopefully in some of the shops in Belgium or whatever. That's where it's going to really be hit home for me. Well, to be honest, when we have to start paying the bills, that's when it hits home. But it's
it's for everybody. Oli wants to know. First of all, he apologized for being late. I forgive you. I think Mark does as well. How do you distribute to, for example, Denmark? Will there be a distribution to Denmark?
Obviously, we've currently to date, other than the crowdfunder bottling, we've not sold a single thing. But we are looking to start off fairly small. I say we're just going to be bottling 5 casks, which I keep reminding myself is not actually that small, but never mind. But we're looking to work with 5 countries to begin with as our first core markets. We don't want to be running around all over the world. Well, you can't do that at the minute anyway, but spreading ourselves too thin. So we're going to concentrate on, we'll have some distribution locally in Campbeltown. The good people at Kintyre Gin, they've got a shop in Halls at Campbeltown. Hopefully they're going to stock our stuff. I'm sure they are Ardshiel and a few other places as well. We've got hoping to get on board with some other people. And then, but we're not looking to be in every single shop in the UK. We're just a few selected markets.
Some friends. Friendly shops.
Friends. And then the other markets that we're looking to start off on are Japan, Taiwan, Denmark, and obviously Belgium. So those are going to be our key markets. In Belgium, we're hoping to be with the Nectar. They don't know it yet. No, they do. But,
you can say hi to Mario at this point.
Yeah, hi Mario. The samples are on the way. So we're hoping to work with that, and then once we've released with those markets, we can. Oh, there's my wife checking in, making sure I'm behaving. Once we're in that, we can then expand out into other countries, whether it's Netherlands or whatever. But we'd rather do a small number of markets properly, even just for logistics wise. For people picking up stuff, if you went and say, "Oh, here's 5 cases to whatever country," it's not really worth their while to distribute it. So yeah, well, we're definitely having a draft teddy with Ole in Denmark. He's getting his price list tomorrow as well, so it's all good.
You were mentioning you have 5 casks. Will they be on cask strength, or will they be on 46 degrees, or?
They are all going to be, well, that's a lie. I was going to say they're all going to be cask strength. One of them will be reduced to 57.1. I don't think it's too much to give away that we're bottling a cask of rum in the first releases as well. And the rum is currently sitting at 69% ABV. And although I really like it at that strength, not everyone is up for drinking at 69%. So we're taking the decision to reduce that one to 57.1. But the great thing is with us, we'll always be open and honest. If we do adjust the strength, we'll let people know.
Yeah.
You know, and it'll, because there's no point in lying. Most of what we do will be at cask strength. The rums as well, just from a duty point of view, if you can save 11% on the duty that you're having to pay, it takes the price on shelf down a little bit as well. So, and it just makes it a little bit more approachable for everybody. Because not everybody can, I like it. I like it as it is 69, but it is a bit on the punchy
side. Talking about cask and just before that, the selection. Who does it? Is it just you and Kate?
Just me and Kate. Well, yeah, we have an agreement that anything. God, I'm looking very serious there. That must have been the start of lockdown. We have an agreement that anything that's design related or creative, Kate gets final say on, and anything that's whiskey or spirits related, I get final say on, unless Kate disagrees. But it's Kate is very much. She's got a much better nose and palate than she thinks she does, and we tend to agree quite a lot anyway. But at the end of the day, I get the final say. So it's, but obviously I run everything by her as well. If Kate was to argue that something wasn't good enough for us to bottle, then I would listen. But I get the final say on it.
At this point, not at home, just for the whiskey's sake.
Yeah, just for the whiskey's sake. Yeah.
When you close that door, it's okay. Now it's up to you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kate. I will do the dishes. Mark, it's you mentioned it before. She moved with you to Campbeltown, but Campbeltown is a very important town. It's very important for you.
Yeah. Well, Kate's actually born in Campbeltown, so she originates from Campbeltown. Was brought up here.
Is this where you live? Because you sent me this one.
Yes, that's where we live. That's the harbour. If you look over the back there, Kate's mum and dad's house is over the other side. We actually, our house is right next to Springbank Distillery. So I look out my living room window and across the road is Springbank Distillery. But it's a beautiful
photo a few days ago.
Yeah, beautiful part of the world. And I feel very much at home here. So when, after I'd left Garden Heads, we parted ways. I wanted a job in the whiskey industry. I wanted to stay in the whiskey industry, and that meant that.
Steven wants to know if you're going up to malt stock.
Well, I just bought my malt stock pack for this year for the virtual one, so we will be. I'm sure we'll be back there again next year, so that'll be good. Definitely need to do some festivals and tastings and tours and things. So that'll be so nice to be able to do that. But no, Campbeltown, we wanted to stay in Campbeltown, beautiful place, great place to bring up kids. And that was another one of the reasons for, setting up the business, because I was very fortunate. I did get several offers of employment for other people, but they all wanted me to move, whether it was whatever, which I didn't want to do. So I thought the only way I can stay in the industry and stay in Campbeltown is to set up our own company. So that's kind of the long and the short of it. But there we go. So it would appear that I'm back. That's okay. I was just about to start filling for you.
You did a great job, I'm pretty sure. Sorry about that. Apparently something got wrong with my internet, so it should be working, but okay. But sorry, you were just telling about Campbeltown.
Yeah, and obviously the history of whiskey here. 30 plus distilleries in the town. The street that I live on, it used to be the richest street in Britain, allegedly, because of the value of all the whiskey that was on Glebe Street. It was just phenomenal. And I always think walking around it, like our office is on Kirk Street. We've got lucky with that. And Kirk Street, actually, on this street 100 years ago, I can never say his name, son that started Nika, lived on this street when he was down here working at Hazelburn. So there's even things like that. So you look at the influence the Japanese whiskey has on the world today, and he spent a lot of time traveling around Scotland, but he spent 5 months at Hazelburn Distillery. Campbeltown was really quite important, and I was at an event marking the 100 years since he came to Scotland. And if you look at where Nika Distillery is situated, and you look at a faraway picture of it on the bay, it's almost identical to looking out onto the sea at the front of Campbeltown, looking over the Var. So, but it must have just been amazing walking around here. I know some days when they're beating the barley at Springbank, you get the whiff of smoke in the air, and that's with one distillery. Now, do you imagine what it must have been like walking around here when all the distilleries were productive? I think like Springbank used to have 2 kilns looking at some of the old plans. So the place must have just been thick with peat reek. It must have been pretty amazing.
Feels like
the town's looking a lot better these days than it maybe was back in those days.
Healthier. I'm pretty sure it's that. Mark, everybody who's following you on Facebook or something can agree with me. You read a lot about whiskey as well. Just the story you just told us. You're not just a whiskey enthusiastic. You're more. You're how can I say this? A whiskey nerd in the best way.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a proper geek. I don't have them in here, but through the house and the office, I've probably a couple of 100 whiskey books.
Coming over.
Yeah, he's been saying that for a long time. He's too scared. But I love reading about it. I love the history of it all. And it's quite nice now. I've got a bit more time in my hands. I can get back and go over some of my old books and things as well and recap, because when you're busy, this job, I'm not saying it's easy, starting your own company, but there's not that much to do on a day-to-day basis. There will be times when we're busier, but once you've picked the casks, it's not like we're doing the bottling. The bottling's all getting done for us up at Clapson's in Dalswinton. Lovely setup they've got there. So there'll be times where there is a bit of downtime, particularly from Wednesday when my boy goes back to school. That's going to be a brilliant day. So I do like reading all these things, and and remembering all I've been lucky that I started in the industry probably at just the right time, and got to know a lot of the legends of the whiskey, the old Italian bottlers or whatever, or and even the Scottish legends. It's quite nice to reminisce with those and realize that some of the old bottlings, the Samarolis or whatever. It's there's been. Yeah, I just love everything about it, to be honest. And every day's a school day. You're always learning something new.
But does it help you to select cask? If just saying a name, you read about something and you just want to try it at least.
Yeah, I mean, whether you know that the distillery was founded in 1823 and closed in. It's quite boring, really, but it doesn't make it taste any better.
No,
it can once you know what something is, it can you can go, oh right, that probably tastes like that because that's got it's got worm tubs, or they use a mash filter there, or do you know what I mean? Those kind of things can help. That distillery's got very long fermentation, or they've got a very short fermentation, or whatever. Those things can help you appreciate what you're drinking, but it doesn't help you pick what you're drinking, if that makes sense, or what you should bottle.
Yeah, I can follow.
I mean, in an ideal world, you would probably pick your casks blind, but that's just not going to happen.
No.
Because you would need to get blind samples, and then you would go, because there are other factors involved. Is this good for a, whatever it is? If you've got a 12-year-old Glenelgan.
Yeah. People have to pay. Is it worth it?
Yeah. Or it's a 30-year-old Highland Park, or whatever. But having a knowledge of what it is makes you think, is it in the right kind of level for what people would expect for that? Because expectations are quite a big thing, because sometimes if you expect too much from a whiskey, it can disappoint you. There's Bert again. It can disappoint because you build it up too much, and it's I think that's why, and I've always said this, even and when I was at Duncan Taylor, we were bottling 66 Bowmores, okay, Macallan 69, Springbank 67s, all those sort of things. At Cadenhead's, 40-year-old Little Mills, and I'm looking over there. It's not like I've got any of them here. It's not all these amazing whiskies, but at the same time, it was the hidden gems that were always much more fun.
Yeah,
and that's what we have to focus on in finding, because if you bottle, and I've always said it, if you bottle an Ardbeg, well, brilliant, you must be very
everybody
rich.
wants to have it.
Everyone wants to have it. And that's great, from a sales point of view, brilliant. But you want the things that people go, oh, try this. And I hope there's a couple. We like all of the ones we've picked for our first releases. Obviously, we like them all. But I'm hoping there's a few things that will maybe open people's eyes to a distillery that may or may not be on their radar. And for me, that's much more fun.
That was something I wanted to ask you, if because it would be, it would be a wise decision, just to say, when you pick all things like Highland Park and all the stuff like easy selling.
Yeah.
But it would be a strange thing when you did it.
It would be. It's. I mean, and I love Highland Parks. Really love Highland Park, in fact.
Yeah.
But it's. And that's, again, where we're looking to be, is just mix things up a bit, because we're only going to be doing 15, 20 casks a year, there shouldn't be repetition. We can mix it up. And it's, and there's plenty of stock out there. It's just getting it and getting it at a decent price is the trouble. We've been very lucky. With so many people in the industry have helped us out, have been, very, very helpful, that, getting us samples so that we can try cask samples before we buy them, which is not something that is that common, to be honest.
But they know you. They know Mark. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's I've bought them a few pints over the years, but it's. We've been humbled, actually, by the support we've got from various people in the industry, whether it's cask suppliers, bottlers, getting the legal paperwork done so that we can legally store casks under bond and everything. So I think, again, it's the whiskey industry. It's global. It's a global industry, but it's tiny.
It's tiny, yeah. Everybody knows each other.
If you mess up, you really mess up. But it's and again, it's a bit like, we're looking to go with the nectar. For me, the booze trade is very much made up of relationships that you've made over time and keeping those relationships going, and not just with the importers, but with the shopkeepers, with the folk that are on here that drink the stuff, and I think that's where we're quite in a lucky position. Like myself and Kate, we're quite accessible to people, and if we want to make a decision, well, we just make it. We don't have to go up lines of things, and we are a very open and honest company, which is why Kate's watching this to make sure I don't say anything too bad.
Hi, honey.
It's but no, it's I think you look at the crowdfunder with 250 people bottles. We know pretty much all of them, which I think But we've both been Kate's been in the industry 20 years. I've been in the industry 20 years, and we've always liked people that we meet, and that's one of the things that we've always enjoyed. Which is quite funny because neither of us really like people when we're not working. But when you're speaking to people about booze, it's totally different. You've got a common interest, and it's.
One of your oldest friends has a question for you, and I really want an answer this time. When did you meet your last flamingo?
Tokyo.
Yeah, but I think the viewers want to know it as well.
No. That was just a code that Bert had when we were in Hong Kong.
There's another. Chilton is reacting very strange.
Yeah. But yeah, that was I had a trip last year, I said to you, with Bert and Ollie Chilton from speciality drink, what are they called? Single Malts of Scotland. We went round Hong Kong, and that was a fabulous trip. It was a really good whiskey market actually, but the three of us for a week, it was just like my sides were sore with laughing come the end of it. It was brilliant. But it was every now and again you get legendary trips like that, or you get legendary shows like some of the Spirits in the Sky that have just been insanely brilliant. And it's it's that thing that, again, I was saying, the whiskey industry is global, but it's tiny. Technically, Bert's an independent bottler, Ollie's an independent bottler. I was with Cadney's, but we're now an independent bottler. But there's room for us all, because no one will only drink Watt whiskey and no other whiskey. They'll drink our stuff, they'll go and drink Bert's stuff, they'll go and drink Ollie's, they'll go and drink Shelton's stuff, they'll have some Springbank, they'll have an Ardbeg, whatever. That's
something I really like. It shows when you're going to the bathroom, for example, Chilton will fill in for you, or Bert will fill in for you, and they are selling of talking about your product as if it is his own, and that's something I really like.
Well, I think there's quite a good group of people that like Shelton, etc. That Bert, whatever. We are whiskey geeks, probably first and foremost. And then, so when we get behind someone else's stand, we generally know their stuff. Mm-hmm. We follow their stuff as much as we follow our own stuff. And, we like to try other people's stuff as well. So, if you stick me behind the Paul John stand for 10 minutes, obviously I'm not going to be as good as Shelton, but, we can have...
But your basics.
Yeah.
I think Ben is making fun of you. How can you arrive in France while hosting a tasting in Belgium?
That was a joke, wasn't it, Bert? Yeah. Bert was driving me to a tasting many years ago, and we got lost. It was in Belgium, but we got lost and ended up in France. So it's the only time that I've ever ended up in the wrong country for a tasting. But it's surprisingly, it's the only time that's happened. But again, those were the days.
Your fault. It was Bert's fault.
Yeah, it was Bert's fault. I mean, it wasn't like I was driving.
No. There's a question from Ollie. Would it be possible to buy the first release without joining the crowdfunding campaign? I don't think so, but
no. To be honest, we've got a few bottles left for ourselves, and that's because it went much. I thought we'd be like, there's plenty left over, but we definitely won't be selling any to anyone who hasn't purchased one, because it's not fair on the crowdfunders.
No.
And because they were really good, gave us a lot of support. And if we just give them out willy-nilly, then how will people be able to flip them in auction?
Yeah, that's something that will happen. You know that.
I don't mind. If we see some whiskey bottles on auction, it shows we're doing something right, probably.
Yeah.
It's annoying to some extent, but it's all exposure.
And if it's your first bottling and it goes up way high, it's
a
good sign.
Then it means that the 6 bottles that I've kept for myself are worth a lot more.
True that. We talked before about your fan base, but you have a fan base all over the world. But in Belgium, you have a big fan base. They visit you at one point at home, I think.
Yes, there's quite a lot of well-known faces there. There's many of them have been to Campbeltown many times. I did a tasting for those guys. It must have been a couple of years ago in our district, and I think there was 45 of them, and they each gave me 2 different bottles of Belgian beer at the end of the tasting.
Different bottles,
and
okay.
So I left the tasting with 100 different Belgian beers. It was phenomenal. It really was. But I always got on well with people in Belgium. I think what it is you're quite Scottish in your outlook in life. You're very knowledgeable about booze, but you like drinking it. Mm-hmm. Your tastings in Belgium are fun, and then you do the tasting, then you have a few beers, and try this, try the next thing. Everyone's probably even more geeky than I am, and knows much more. But it's all about the drinking, and I don't mean just to get drunk. I mean it's all about the tasting. And it's, do I like this? Do I not? Boom, yep. And it's a lot of fun. And I think Denmark as well has a fairly similar attitude for that.
Same here, Ole. Same here. I missed out as well. So, if you find one, I want to share it.
I mean, we'll have some that people can try at some point, I'm sure.
Okay, fair point. Mark, what are the plans for the near future or the long future? Of course, you're bringing out 5 new whiskies within a few months, but
so get these 5 out, and then hopefully another 5, and then another 5, and then repeat indefinitely.
Are you already selecting the next cask, or are you waiting?
We've got the first 2 releases pretty much nailed down, and then we're working on bits and pieces for the 3rd releases. But we want to make sure that the first release sells a little bit before we commit to the 3rd. I mean, depending on timing wise, we might try and get a 2nd release out before the end of the year, just to try and get out before Brexit happens, because that might slow things down at the start of the new year. Other than that, hopefully, we have an office here in Kirk Street, which we're hoping to get licensed, because we've quite a big office, quite a big tasting room here, but we can't do any tastings in it yet.
You're not allowed, you mean?
We're not allowed yet because we're not licensed, and there's a few conditions. Even though we're on the 1st floor, we need to have
fire escape,
disabled access toilet. You don't need to have disabled access upstairs to get up the stairs, but you need to have a disabled access toilet upstairs. So we were just we're going to try and get the licensing officer around to find out exactly what we need to get a license. Like, we don't want to have a shop or anything like that. We just want to have people be able to come around and charge them for a wee tasting. At the minute, we technically can do tastings, but they have to be free. And when it's your own whiskey, you don't want to be giving it away for free, unfortunately. So that's the plan, is to hopefully try and get this place licensed, so that when people come to Campbeltown, they can come in and see us and have a wee tasting. But also, the other big thing is we're adding our own day to the Campbeltown Whisky Festival, Campbeltown Malt Festival. So we're, I think it's Lagavulin we're going up against, because we're going to add on the day on the Saturday. So we've got Tuesday now is Kintyre Gin, Wednesday Glen Scotia, Thursday Springbank, Friday Kilkerran and Cadenheads, and then we'll do the Saturday, so the 29th of May, we're going to have our open day, which will be, it's called What Whisky and Friends, because obviously we're not a huge company. We're not going to have that much whisky by May next year to fill a whole day. So we're going to have hopefully 3 or 4 other of our industry colleagues will have stands at it as well, just to have a bit of fun. To steal the malt stock thing, just a kind of relaxed day, to wind down the festival, and then we can all go and have a beer afterwards. So,
one beer,
just the one.
Yeah, of course. It always starts with one.
Yeah.
So near future, you said a few costs, but what would you say within 10 years? Where are you hoping to be within 10 years?
10 years, I'll be honest, we don't necessarily want to be that much bigger. You know, if we can keep the work-life balance going well, be successful enough that we can afford to go to Belgium, go everywhere and visit all our markets a couple of times a year or whatever. Take the family on holiday while we're doing it. That would be nice.
Do it.
But it's we want to move, maybe have some diversion into cognacs. I love cognac and stuff, Armagnacs. But there's no long term. We want to be in 20 markets in 5 years, or we want to be turning over X,
you want
Y, Z.
to ride a Bentley and have a lot of money.
Yeah. I don't mean there's no aspirations, but as long as we can afford to live comfortably, there is more to life than money. Having set this up, I'm at home. I've got a new child. I've been at home seeing it all the time. I can go and pick up my boy from school. Someone who can cook, cook very well. So it's getting the work life balance, and obviously Calvados.
Alex is here.
Well, he certainly knows a thing or two about Calvados. So
we have a question. We have a question from Bjorn, by the way. Hi Mark, great to see you. Great to see you come with a full range of 5 cars as an outcome. That is pretty many bottles. Batches will come in 5. And any particular reasons for that being 5?
5 was what we could afford just now.
Okay, I was expecting like it's a lucky number or something like that.
Yeah. And also, we might increase it slightly to 6. 5. At the minute, possibly I might have wanted to do 6, but 5 was kind of our limit for the minute. The reason I'm saying maybe 6 is 5 or 6 is a nice number for a tasting. And that's why I was, again, coming back to the crowdfunder. We're very lucky that we managed to get that extra input, because if you start with 2 casks and then I come over to Belgium and do a tasting for you and you taste 2 whiskies.
1, 2, ready.
Yeah, it's like, no, we're done.
Have a nice evening, bye.
Yeah. So hopefully by having 5 gives us a bit of a spread. Absolutely. I just need a vermouth supply, and that'll be fine. But it's so that's why it was 5. We could have done 4, but we just felt another one would be the Fantastic 5 release. We just makes it that bit more interesting. and gives us, from a marketing point of view, gives us a bit more presence on shelf. Mm-hmm. So, we've maybe got 2 or 3 bottles on shelf rather than just one, so that people realise that we're serious about what we're doing.
Can we book you already for a tasting?
You need to speak to my agent.
She's here somewhere.
Yeah. We will hopefully be able to start booking things soon. But it's all out of our hands at the minute, unfortunately.
Bjorn is happy with your answer.
It's not often that I make sense.
Cheap bucket.
I'll remember that, Florian.
Okay, was the nicest remark this episode. Thank you, Florian. You made my day. Mark, talking about, you did a lot of tastings the last few years, all over the world. What's the strangest thing what happened to you? Or the most funniest thing of the thing?
There's been many strange things happened to me over the years.
What will you tell your kids when you're 80 years old and they're of your grandchild, I have to say?
Leave my whiskey alone. Probably. There's been so many crazy things that happen when you're out on, when you're out on tour, like drinking mezcal at 2 a.m. in a car park with Martin. But there's lots of things. So there's so many strange stories. Like, there was one time I was in Finland and I was doing a tasting, and we were doing 6 Speyside whiskies, and single cask strength Speyside whiskies, non-peated whiskies. And after the 3rd whiskey, this guy stood up to leave the tasting. It's like, it's not that unusual for someone to leave my tastings. But it's like, has there been a problem? Because I was thinking, I've not offended anyone, have I? I know sometimes I can be a bit risky, but never never mean to offend anyone. And he was like, oh no, I'm supposed to be in the Ardbeg tasting. I was like, you've sat through 3 whiskies and drunk 3 whiskies before you realise you're not in the Ardbeg tasting. It's about jokes in a Belgian bar. Bert knows much more about jokes in a Belgian bar than I do, so I'll leave it at that. It was a student bar at that, but there's lots of other things. And there's been crazy times. Like, I love going to Japan. It's Japan and Belgium and Denmark, and Taiwan. So we're dealing with the markets that I like going to, which kind of helps when you
feel at home. Yeah,
you feel at home. But another time I remember being when I first started. I've done many a tasting in Fredericia, that's right. But I remember when when I was young, I was going out to Japan to.
Chilton wants to tell a story as well. He stole a pumpkin over here. One of my neighbors.
The last time I was in Hong Kong, I was stood in a bar and I got a hit in the head, and someone had thrown an orange from the other side of the bar and sconed me on the head. So there's lots of fruit-related incidents. But when I was younger, I was in Japan to run a replica of my local bar. So it used to be the Krigella Hotel, but then the Highlander Inn, they replicated in a department store in Osaka every year. And I would go across and run it for a week. So I went to Japan for a week's holiday every year to run a whiskey bar, which was brilliant. But I was quite young, and I walked into this bar, and the bartender was like, "Hi Mark, how you doing?" And he poured me 4 drams. He poured me all 4 of the 1974 Ardbeg provenances, because there was 2 for Europe, 1 for Japan, and 1 for America. And he had 1 of each, and he poured me each of them. And it was the worst drams I've ever had. Okay. Purely because I was sat there going, I can't afford this. Like, this is ridiculously expensive whiskey. I think my credit card at the time had a £500 limit on it. And I was like, this is not going to. And I tasted it. I was like, oh. And then I was like, okay, maybe my credit card will work. And I was like, can I pay my bill, please? And the guy's like, no, you're okay. There's no charge. So come on, could you not have told me that beforehand, and I could have enjoyed them? It's there's so many times, there's so many great memories. Being in Denmark, or the time I stood on top of Campbeltown with some Danes just after it had been knocked down. We drank a bottle of, we had a good few drinks in 1972 Campbeltown, standing on the rubble of the old distillery. There's lots of things, but people make whiskey, and the moments, and the kindness I've been shown by people around the world, who've just met me for the first time, and the next thing you know, you're going back to their house to drink whiskey, or you're going to, they're taking you to the next whiskey bar, and it's it really is quite something. And again, you look back to, it's always nice meeting new people, but you look back to when I first started in the industry, I'd hardly been outside of Scotland. Yeah. So traveling around the world was like, Aberdeen Airport was big for me. To be honest, back then, Campbeltown Airport would have been big for me. And, people from other companies, I remember Colin Ross from Ben Nevis on one of my first trips in the Netherlands. Like, just stick with me and I'll look after you. And then, guys like Richard Patterson and Billy Walker, Frank McCarthy, all these guys, looking after you when you're out on tour, when you're like a rabbit in the headlights to begin with, and then you realise it's them that teach you all the bad habits. But it's a wonderful, wonderful industry, and that's whether it's with industry colleagues or with with whiskey drinkers. But so many crazy stories.
Yeah. Ken has a question with what whiskey related. Did you choose the 5 casks as a diverse range of tastes so you can use them in a lineup?
We did look at them as part of it. Like, we picked them because we liked them, thought they were really good whiskies. And then we looked at, from the casks that we've got, what makes up a better diverse lineup for a tasting, particularly because it's our first releases. In the future, if we come to do a tasting, there may be some previous releases in a tasting or whatever, so you've got a little bit less control over it. But we want each release to kind of make sense, which has its difficulties, because obviously, most things are bourbon casks, Speyside whiskey, and that's brilliant. I love that style of whiskey. But it's also trying to get a bit of diversity, but not just putting things in because they're different. They have to reach the standard to be good enough to be bottled by us in the first place. And then we look at the positioning, which means when we come to do a tasting of the 5, it will make sense.
Will bourbon or rye ever be a part of the portfolio?
Hopefully. I don't have any yet. I've been offered, but it's not an immediate. It's not something that I immediately want to do. I mean, I'd love to get some rye just for making cocktails with, but I do love rye. I've bought some great bourbons in the past as well, but it's not an initial focus.
No. When something comes up and it is good, you're willing to do it.
And it's the same. If we get whiskey from anywhere, or it's spirit from anywhere, if it's good, particularly further down the line when we're a bit more established and people can hopefully trust us, that because although Kate's got a brilliant reputation, I've got a reputation, our company is starting from scratch, so we're starting probably from a higher point than many people starting a new business, but we've got to, and people probably expect a lot from us, so we need to make sure we try and deliver that. And once we're up and going, then we can have a bit more fun, and as Martin says, we can do our single cask Negronis or things like that. Obviously that's pie in the sky stuff, but you never know what will happen. And at the end of the day, if it's good enough, if it fits our philosophy, and the price is right, try to get the price can be the problem. I've been offered some amazing casks and that have tasted brilliant, but they just don't fit in our kind of pricing structure for now. But you never know what might happen in the future.
A lot can happen. That's true. So, Mark, we are talking about it's about an hour. So we are at the end of our show, of our broadcast this time. If anybody has a question, this is the time. Ask it now. Is there anything you want to share with the viewers already about the next bottles? Or is it all a big secret? When are they coming out, for example? Do you know?
We're hoping we ordered the crowdfunder labels today, so they should take 2 or 3 weeks, I think. And once they're done, then we can get the bottling of that done. So the crowdfunder bottling will go out first, and then once we see that and we're happy with that and everything, then we will put the first release into, because we want to make sure that. Because obviously this is the first time we've printed these labels. We want to make sure that they work and everything. So we want to do that with 1 cask's worth before going and finding out, for the future. So we're hoping, I don't know, we need to tie in with the bottling hall and when they can do. So that could probably be, we're hopefully September-ish. Something will come out. The people that are crowdfunders will get first heads up with what's coming out. Obviously, our importers will know before that. And then if you sign up for our mailing list, if you go to CampbeltownWhiskyCompany.com, there's a thing here you can sign up for, or eventually at whatwhisky.com you can, so that you find out when things are happening. Obviously, we're fairly vocal on the social media, so. Kate has to take my phone off me after a while to stop me. Really.
But how important is social media for a beginning company?
I think it's been fantastic for us, just to get it out there. And again, because, as I said earlier, because when people message into us on Facebook or send a thing, it's us that is replying. We don't have someone that's employed to handle social media for us, or ghost writers or things like that, which inevitably a lot of the big boys do because they just don't have enough time. And I think that's where we're hoping to keep going and having a connection with the consumers. I don't know how much of a connection I'll want when somebody gives their stuff a bad review, but you've got to take the rough with the smooth. You can't. Just hope that Serge keeps being nice to me.
Okay. Mark, thank you very much for joining us and on such short notice, because I asked you last Monday, I think, or Tuesday.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And you said, I will fill in for Martin, and you did a great job. I'm pretty sure Martin is happy now.
Martin's a great guy. I've known Martin for years. He also used to work at the Craig Hotel, so yeah, we've got that.
You know already from back then?
Yeah. Me and him used to drink in the Highland around quite often. So yeah, again, it's a small world. It's.
Did he look like a Viking at that time as well?
When I first met him, he looked more like me than he does now. He was a big guy when I first met him, but you certainly wouldn't mess with him. That's for sure.
Marco wants a peak view, age of the first 5 releases.
I'll tell you that other than the rum, they are all legally Scotch whiskey.
Pretty basic. Okay. Mark, I will be going in the back sooner. Very soon, and you can say hi to everybody, and you can take over the show if you want. We will meet up in the end. To the viewers, just saying thank you again for joining us, and I hope to see a comment next week when we have Louise. Louise is. Do you know Louise? Have you ever met her from JJ Course?
No, I don't think I have.
It's a fairly new bonder in Ireland, Irish whiskey, and they bring out a lot of good stuff. I'm quite a fan myself, so
Excellent. Well, I'll tune in next week to learn something.
okay. There's a lot of people saying hi now. Okay, so I will be saying hi again. So Mark, it's all up to you, and I see you in the back. Okay.
Okay. Cheers.
Mark, you can tell everybody saying goodbye. You can say everything you want.
All right. Thanks you, everyone. And it's been fun. Hopefully we'll get to meet up and have a proper drink in person soon. And just thanks again, everybody, for your support. It's been fantastic. Cheers.